Hey there, guys, and a big welcome back to the Blaze TV podcast. Ed Kimberley and Stu Coles with you. And our guest on this edition is returning Blaze forward, year number two for Mr. Grayson Constable. Grayson, welcome back, young man. It's good to have you back for another season. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Well, we couldn't not, especially as you're hanging around in Coventry for a few more days to help us celebrate 10 years of young Mister, or not so young anymore, Mister Clements, but a little bit more on that later because this was year one as a pro in the books. It's the funny thing is about a hockey team is you've got 20, 22 guys. All have got different perspectives on things. All come from different walks of life. So I'm just curious, how was year number one as a pro for you, and how was that year with the Blaze for you?
Yeah, I think having that be my first year was a really, really great experience, especially, moving to a different country and getting to experience that. The cultural difference was really cool too. But I think the group of guys that we had and the coaching staff that we had just made the transition so, so easy. I've been trying to explain to guys, even buddies back home, kind of that feeling of moving over here and joining the team and how that was, but it really didn't seem like it was a process. Thinking about it now, we kind of just got there and instantly it was just like a family environment, which was really cool. So it made the transition coming over here so easy.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, if you're going to progress into Europe, and if English is your first language, and being a Canadian guy with the links with the Commonwealth and all that, it's a pretty good stepping stone, if you like. It's a good way to go in softly rather than going somewhere. You talk to guys like Oldie, for example, who's played in a lot of leagues, Czech league, Slovak league, etc. Things can be a lot different. Even just as simple as I don't know, taking the kid to the dentist, for example. So yeah, no, I get that. Like, because you had quite an interesting junior career, like swinging back and forward a little bit between the BC and the AJ, and then you played for a couple of different colleges too, ending up in Long Island. How did you find it was like different in terms of the hockey and the culture to what you were used to, like throughout the earlier parts of your career?
Yeah. I think to go back to first we were talking about with like language barrier, it's you couldn't be more spot on. Especially going to a European country, having it all English here makes it so easy to, get involved with fans and
Mm.
teammates. You don't really have that barrier. So it was awesome to come here and just not have to worry about that at all. But transition wise, I'd say um well, pro hockey's pro hockey. I mean, when you walk into a dressing room and like you say, a Brandon Alderson or a Kim Talberg, those guys of that caliber are sitting in the room, you can almost feel a difference. These guys with a lot of experience, they just bring that. They don't even have to say anything. It's just the way they carry themselves and the way they practice and play. So I would say that was one thing. A little bit different with college too, where guys are still, I mean, guys are going to classes here, but you're maybe taking on more of a academic standpoint at college, or even if you're 21 playing junior hockey and taking those classes. Maybe a little bit more academic orientated, but it was nice being over here and not having to worry about that so much, where I could fully focus on hockey and putting all my efforts into training and playing. So, I think I like the professional lifestyle a little bit better, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. But I mean, that's what Coventry brings though too, in the group that we had was just like you love showing up to the rink, you love practicing, you love battling with those guys. Like it was so enjoyable that it's kind of hard to tell people about that experience because they might not believe you. They might think you're just, lying to them. But it really was a great transition and a really good spot for me to come. And that's exactly why I'm coming back for another year.
There's so many nuances to this league that's like I think maybe we tried to explain it when you hadn't set foot on the ice with the Blaze yet back last summer, this time last year. Things like the Challenge Cup, the back to backs that you just kind of get used to that we play in this league. What were some of those like weird adjustments like, or did you kind of just because of the lack of language barrier, because of the great group of experienced guys like Oldie, like Kim, was it pretty easy just to slot right in and it was like water off a duck's back?
It was pretty easy. I would say Challenge Cup was a little different. You understand it real quick though. But I think for me, the first thing that really stuck out was that I had to play an aggregate quarterfinal, 2 games where I was saying, this is nuts. I can't believe this is happening. But yeah, you live and learn, and it is what it is. But no, the transition was all right.
Yeah, and it kind of went in and against us, didn't it, in those aggregate scenarios? Because like we are talking to David Clemenson, and we're going to talk about Dave a little bit on this podcast, not because it's his testimonial in like 2 days, so it'd be rude not to. But like he was talking about it being fine margins, and that quarterfinal against Cardiff in the playoffs there was pretty much the epitome of fine margins. You come out of an aggregate game a couple down, you get it even, and a bounce goes against you here, and the next shift a bounce goes against you again, and it's just like, oh man, like how things could have been different.
Yeah, it definitely changes the way you play. That was the one thing that I noticed because we came out really hot in that second game in Cardiff where we had it. I actually believe it was even at one point throughout the
Mm-hmm.
aggregate.
Yep.
And then, like you said, a bounce goes one way, and it's like you have to change your mindset of how you were playing for the start of the game to, okay, you're tied, and now they've scored 2 quick ones, and you've got to readjust. And it's like, okay, do we go full on pressure? How much do we switch? And it is kind of a lot instead of taking it game by game. Say it was like a 7 game series. So that is something that I think is unique about this league, which is also a really cool thing. And instead of putting yourself through potentially 7 games, it's 2. But yeah, that's just something you gotta adjust for, and something that I'll definitely have in mind next year is how to play through those scenarios, whether it's with you or against you, kind of thing. So
Yeah, I think no matter whether you've played just 1 year as a pro or you played 10 years of pro, like every year you learn something. You learn something new about your game, about yourself, about life in general. What do you think the one big thing you learned from this year was?
funny enough, I would have to say like body maintenance. In college, it was a little bit different because you would be in class and you'd be at the rink, and it was kind of the same regimen. Where here you have a lot more time to, say your body needs a certain amount of rest, or you need, I don't know, help with the physio, that kind of stuff. It's easier to do that here, and I also find that as I'm getting older, my body doesn't bounce back quite the same that it used to when I was younger. So I definitely had to stay on top of that. And that's one thing that I would put out there for sure is, just the recovery time, and being on top of that was something that I learned this year. And especially even like a guy like Kim that was always, before practice, he was doing things. After practice, he was doing things. Later in the evening, he was doing things. So like he was a really good role model for me this year. And I mean, he's, 30 and he's absolutely flying. So obviously I want to be in that kind of shape too when I'm there. So he's a really good guy to model that portion of my game after.
You'll have to join him and Zane McKenzie's post game workouts
Yeah.
this year. I mean, my first experience of that was, and bear in mind, like I've known Kimmy a couple of years at this point, was in Guildford the first time we were there, and he was doing like diamond push ups after he'd played 18 minutes on the night. And I'm just looking at the guy in the corridor doing this, like, okay, yeah, he's something completely different.
He is built different for sure.
But I suppose it's like, I mean, you're part of the leadership group as well. I guess it's that Kimmy's taking that leading by example pretty seriously, and having him back next year is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, if I don't think you can name another guy that's built like him in the sense of mindset and how he views day-to-day life, not even hockey, just enjoying the experience and taking everything in a day at a time. Is It was honestly like a breath of fresh air having him in the locker room. Even if you're having a down day, like he would come in and you just like you couldn't feed off of his energy. And I think even Dave was talking about that on the last time with the podcast with you guys. Like it
Mm,
is, I can't even, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's, yeah, his energy just radiates, and it's awesome to be a part of. There's really no bad days with that guy. So he was
mm,
definitely the core leader of the group last year. And I think that's why he wears the C, just because the way that he drives himself and holds himself every day is like that is the standard that you want as a human being and also as like a hockey player.
mm. Yeah, it's funny, like as fans of the sport as well as sort of being involved in it, like everybody kind of, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. Like it could be football, it could be basketball, baseball, cricket. It doesn't really matter. like fans of that sport will always compare guys, like in terms of their attributes, how they play. In terms of like some of how you stack up with Brandon Alderson, we mentioned already a minute ago, like you're both bigger guys, you both shoot right, you both don't mind throwing the weight around, you both can shoot the puck. Like he's played like what was it? I think 10-year pro, maybe 11 years pro at this point. Like, what's it like being in and around guys like that? Do you kind of look at some of the stuff that he's doing a little bit later on in his career and go, oh shoot, like that's applicable to my game? And do you kind of work with him in some scenarios to try and take steps forward in your own style?
Yeah, absolutely. I think along with the coaching staff, have to understand that these older guys bring so much to the table, and you have to be willing as a teammate to be, hey, Brandon, do you mind showing me this? Like this could be mid practice. Hey, Brandon, saw that you did this. Why did you take that route? Why did you decide to make that pass? What are you seeing? That kind of thing. So picking the brains of these older guys is really important. I think, you can learn so much from all their knowledge. And yeah, especially with Brandon, bigger guy, like you said, likes to throw the body around a little bit. I definitely take pointers from him, and there'd even be times I'd be like, "Hey, Brandon, I know you got your own stuff going on, but do you mind watching me for like a shift here or there, or let me know what you see." And he was really great and helping me in that aspect where you could even send him a text and be, "Hey, man, I'm struggling with my wall play or my breakout play. Do you mind? You might help me out at practice or teach me a thing or two." And these guys are always so happy just to, you know, absolutely. I'll give you 50 minutes of my time, no issue. Love it. So we had a group like that was really, really good for that. Yeah, and they were just eager to help too. So if you're eager to learn, these guys are more than happy to help out, which is also why I think we had such a great group.
And in those early days, we're going to talk about David Clements a little bit now, because in those early days, I know how key he is to showing the guys the ropes, showing them what's good, like helping them get their feet under the table. And he was saying about like guys like yourself, like Cress, that decided to hang around for his testimonial. I guess it's that group and that tight knit bond that makes it so you want to stick around and support him even a month and a half after the season finishes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think since day one, he was the first guy to reach out in the group chat and kind of give everybody the ropes and show us how it's done, which is actually I was really, really excited to see that he was signing back this year because he is a glue guy. And I think that's why he's got, so many people showing up this weekend for him is because that's just his character. I mean, I think anybody that you ask about David Clemens, whether that's present teammate or past teammate, will always say the same thing that, he brings it every day. He's always got a smile on his face. He's one to crack a joke if things are down. He's one to, you know, send the message out on, let's get together. Let's go for dinner, guys. We got to do something like that. Yeah. So I think he was instrumental this year in bringing the team closer together, especially right from the start. Because I know we get thrown into preseason pretty quick, but yeah, he was definitely the guy that was facilitating all the glue, if I should say. He was
Mm.
awesome.
As a Canadian boy, like what's your thoughts on testimonials? Because as far as I'm aware, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's not really something I'm aware of happening a lot in hockey in North America. So like when he said, "Hey, like Grace, is there any chance you want to come and play in my testimonial?" and you became aware that that was going to happen, like what were your overall thoughts on it?
Well, my first question was, you've played for how long? But yeah, no, that's not something that I'm used to back home. But I think it's honestly a really, really cool tradition here. I love it. So when I heard it was his testimonial year, I was like, oh, there's no shot I'm missing that. Seems like such a cool experience, and love to see what everyone's done for him this year, and guys coming back to play in this, and also reaching out and just showing their support. But yeah, it's very new to me, but I think it's awesome. Love it.
And I just think I'm going to hand over to Stu in just a sec, but the last one from me is like just how great the community coming round to support Dave is. Various sponsors for various different bits, fans, guys wanting to get involved. It is awesome. And it's kind of what Coventry does with its players. Like I know your sponsor, SG Building Contractor, Stu. I know him really well. And I think it was like you'd been in the country 2 days. He'd called you up, like, "Hey, let's go play a game of golf. Like, let's get you introduced to the city. Let's take you out for dinner. Come over to my place. We'll play cards." they may not seem like really little details, but they go a long way for the boys, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to say one of the bigger aspects of me even coming back was, the people that I had met along the way, including you guys. Like, you make it so easy to come over here and not stress about really anything. It is a second family. Um, and that was funny. Like when I committed last summer, I think I got a text from him 2 weeks later saying, "Hey, I heard you're a golfer. I'm taking you next year," like that kind of thing. So, it just shows that people really care. And I do think that's why a lot of guys, come back to Cov is because you have all these fans, all these supporters, sponsors that just go, above and beyond what they really need to. And I think as even just like a human being, feeling that support is fantastic. So yeah, for me it was a no-brainer, especially having, the sponsors that I do and the friends and family around me that are here. Uh, yeah, it was a no-brainer.
Take her away, Stu.
Yeah, and maybe a bit more on that. So what is that sort of family around Coventry like? What's that sort of experience that you've had of the city? And, what are the sort of the highlights of Coventry of your year?
Yeah, well, I would say I got to know the sponsors, my own and our team sponsors quite a bit, like Johnny Ray, who's with the golf club. Became a real good fan of him real quick. Played a few rounds with him just recently, actually. But yeah, I mean, they give such great support, whether you know, you need somebody to talk to, or like for instance, Beth maybe with Energize, she helps us throughout the seasons with, team meetings and mental skills. But like if you're ever struggling or something's happening where it's not hockey related and you just need somebody to talk to, you need some help, she was there for us. All we had to do was shoot her a text and she was a 5-minute drive away. So just people willing to go, like I said, above and beyond for us was you know just incredible.
And that sort of people aspect, I think sometimes is often not maybe not underplayed, but it's not given enough recognition as to how important the people side is to a team, particularly when you've got to go out there onto the ice and fight for each other and protect and put your body on the line. So having that team spirit, that sort of love of the city is really important to build, because then you're going to play better as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always want your fans to love you, and I know it's kind of an up and down ride throughout the season, but I think we showed it very early on that we were a different team than people expected, which was a cool experience for me because I've been on both ends of that, where it's gone good or it's gone bad. But we had a great year, and it was cool to see how the fans, really rallied around us and gave us that extra boost when we needed it. But yeah, it really for me is all about the people. And like I said, that's one of the big reasons why I am coming back, because I was treated so well this year by everybody, by fans, by teammates, by sponsors. Like it's hard to say no to.
And Coventry is as a fan base, Coventry fans tend to, like, if you look over the years, the players who are hard workers, people who put the work ethic in, they might not necessarily be the biggest goal scorers, or they get the most points, but they're the people who put the shifts in, night out. And I think, that's possibly why you connected well with the fans, because every night you're out there giving 100% every shift. Was that something that you sort of recognized? Was that something that played in, or were you just sort of doing your game night in, night out, and it just sort of happened?
I would say it just sort of happened. Like I know my role isn't to be a Chase Greasock and put up, 35. That I mean, it could happen. We'll keep that on record. But yeah, I do know my role, and had a good relationship with Kevin this year where he told me, okay, I need you to do this. Just play your game. So that's really what I did. But yeah, it was really awesome to have the support from the fans like I did this year. Um, for doing what I do, I guess.
And and with that conversation with Kevin about coming back, and you've obviously said, a couple of times that it wasn't, it doesn't sound like it was a particularly long conversation. But he also made a bit of a pitch, because you got Coaches Player of the Year this year, so there was obviously he's obviously recognised that as well. So how did
Right.
it feel to get that?
It was awesome. I honestly wasn't expecting it. I think we had a lot of guys this year that did play the right way and were very deserving of it. So I was very honored. But yeah, I mean, my conversation with Kev signing back was very short. Um, I think we both knew what we wanted and we made it work very quick. So I'll just keep it at that. But yeah, like I said, it was an absolute
Mm.
no-brainer for me.
Okay. And whilst we're on the subject of points, you'll obviously, this first pro season, you're obviously getting used to that sort of environment. You said yourself you learned a few things about body maintenance and that along the way. Now you've had a year to sort of acclimatize to being a pro. You might want to get a few more points on the board. I think Kevin would like you to get a few more points on the board. Everyone would like to get a few more points on the board. It's not a bad thing in the world. How are you going to build on your next year? What are the things that you're sort of aspiring to, perhaps on a personal level, aside from the we'd like to win trophies in Coventry, because that I think is a given.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think this kind of goes back to taking things away from guys like the Aldersons and the Clems and the Talbergs, of just kind of the way they play. And I learned a lot actually from Brandon this year with, just how well he protects the puck, and he's smooth and confident with it. Never really made a lot of mistakes. So I'm trying to model my game after that, where I can use my body in, say, like the offensive zone if I'm protecting a puck from a D-man and looking to make a play to somebody. Um, that, and also probably just getting to the net, being greasy around the net and banging a few more goals home. But yeah, I think just having another really good summer at home. Um, I skate 3 or 4 times a week, which is a privilege for sure. And then I also have a really good trainer back home. So I think just staying on top of that and coming back and being uh, confident in my game, confident that I had a good summer, and confident that I worked on the right things to, push me forward in that aspect.
And summer's always a like you say, a time for training and reflection. What does your summer hold, other than skating 3 or 4 times a week? What's going to be keeping you busy over the
Yeah.
next few months?
So I used to work for the city. I think we talked about this when I first got on the podcast with you guys, but I used to paint crosswalks. I am officially retiring from that gig. Although it was good, treated me well, I'm moving on from it. I will be just helping my dad back out at home. He's a realtor in Lethbridge, so I'll be helping him out because I'm only going to be home for, I think it's 2.5 months this summer. Just because I decided to stay out here for Clem's testimonial and hang out for that. But yeah, looking forward to getting home. It feels like I've been away for a long time.
Yeah, and it was one of the things that was kind of certainly stuck with me during the season. It was nice to see all the families come over as well as parts during the season, and it certainly your parents came over. They certainly made a point of coming and saying hello to ourselves up in the booth. And what is it? Because when you played college, you lived quite far away from Alberta.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, was it really that different in the sense of not having your family that close? Because it's still, arguably a flight away.
Yeah. I mean, they came out once this year, but I would say in college, it really depended on where we traveled. So, say my junior year at Holy Cross, we were at North Dakota playing the Sioux, and all they had to do was take like a 2-hour flight down. So it was easy to see them for a weekend, or if we were in Nebraska playing, or something like that. So maybe a little bit easier for them to travel. I mean, you could also get a direct flight to New York for some reason from Calgary, so they would do that a few times when I was in Long Island, which was nice. But yeah, they came out once this year for a few weeks. Absolutely loved it. And when I told them that I was signing back, they said, "Good, you better." Like, it was, already on the docket for them, and they're excited to come out a few more times next year.
Oh, that's great, and it's nice to hear that it sort of sits all around well. It's been great to talk to you, and I certainly, for one, am looking forward to all of the celebrations over the next couple of days. We're looking forward to the draft event on Friday, which this should go out just before that, and then the full-on testimonial, which is going to be, like you say, a new experience for you. But I'm sure if you go searching on the internet, you might find, certainly I believe, videos of David singing a previous testimonial has appeared online that may have involved a little bit of alcohol, even though he says he doesn't like the limelight.
Oh, really? I don't believe that at all.
Oh, Grayson, it's been really good to connect with you again, man. I can't believe it's been 11 months since we did this after you first signed, and well, this was as good as the first one we did. So I appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This was awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Hopefully, we'll see you down at the couple of events for David Clemens' testimonial the next couple of days. If not, we'll see you next time on the Blaze TV podcast. Bye for now.